Second, this is a big one. How many of you have ever looked at the Buddypress skeleton components? Anybody? Okay, so in Buddypress there's a bunch of components, and this is just a fancy word we use for the members' code. The group's code is the group's components, the forum's components, the activity components. Now, a lot of people have built additional components for Buddypress. For instance, a followers component, like a Twitter follower type model, or a component that does let's say, links. There's a plugin called Buddypress Links, which is very commonly used, which is like rich links that you can do in Facebook. You drop in a YouTube thing, and it does the O embed, and it brings in all kinds of metadata. So it's possible to create these top-level components. In Buddypress, currently, it is an awful pain. There's about 10 or 12 different functions you have to do. You have to manually inject yourself into a bunch of global variables. And you sort of have to just hope that you get all of these things right. What we did in Buddypress 1.5 is we consolidated this all into a core component class, a single class that you extend in your own plugin with just a couple of methods, and it does all of that tricky work for you. It gets all the load order correct, it gets all of the hooks, the action hooks correct, it gives you a guide on how to insert all of how to register your post types, how to register your taxonomies. It does all of this work for you. All you have to do, I've given 7 methods here. You really only need about 3 of these to actually get your new components set up. We do this internally, so all of our core components have been totally refactored. So they don't use the old spaghetti code way anymore. They all register themselves by extending the BP component class. So it's great as a developer, because if you want to know how to register, and it used to be, by the way, that not only was the old way spaghetti code, but different Buddypress components did it different ways. So it was just, if you we're looking for a good example of how to do things, it just wasn't there. But now we do it in a consistent way with every single component, and we're really eating our own dog food here. So it's going to make the process of setting up a new component for Buddypress, of extending Buddypress, many times faster for a developer who's familiar with WordPress but maybe doesn't know much about Buddypress yet. So. Docs. So I get this all the time. I would use Buddypress, but it's not documented. I agree. I mean, Buddypress is not documented, and it's really sad, and it's not documented on a lot of different levels. And now, on one level, I can't control it. I mean, WordPress is documented in part because it has 50 million users, and so it's a community project. There's a lot more people to produce the documentation. But one thing I can help with is the inline documentation. Before, we had almost none. We'd have the occasional comment. Again, we know how to do it the right way, but because we don't have time, we don't want to take the extra time to write comments, we don't comment our code. And what happens when you go back to look at your code 6 months later? Who wrote this? Where do they live? So every line of code that we have added, every function that we've added, every function that we've refactored in Buddypress 1.5 has gotten full PHP doc, and it's gotten full inline documentation where possible. I'm a documentation nut. When you look at my commits, my commit messages are more often than not over 50% documentation. So because I want somebody to be able to open up this code and say, that's exactly what Boone was thinking when he wrote that code. Now we're in the process of going back and doing the stuff that's already existed. So we don't have 100% documentation coverage, neither does WordPress, but it's getting more and more complete. And it's going to make it that much easier for people who are new to Buddypress, but who are already WordPress developers, to jump in, figure out how Buddypress works, and then to write your own components for it and extend it in your own ways. So that I'm really, really excited about. And I kind of have to stop enumerating things. And the reason is because there's so many things that we fixed in 1.5. Little tiny things. This is the milestone in track. This is our bug tracker. So the number of tickets we have closed is 795. This is way bigger than a WordPress major release. And this is for our humble little Buddypress project. We have fixed a ton of things. Little things where the Ajax didn't work. Little things where nonces were placed in the wrong positions. Little usability issues where you'd have an inconsistency in the user interface in one place or another. Places where things weren't localizable. All sorts of tiny little niggling issues have been wiped clean. So Buddypress feels like, and I'm saying this as a biased person who loves Buddypress, this feels like the first solid release of Buddypress that we've had so far. So I think the whole team is really proud of that. And I know it makes it a lot more fun to develop for. So where are we at right now? Well, Buddypress is in its second beta. Buddypress 1.5 is in its second beta. This says active 6. I took this screenshot this afternoon. It's actually down to 4. So we're going to clean those tickets and put out another beta, a third beta or a release candidate, probably our last one, probably within the next week or so, with a goal of maybe getting a final version up by the end of the month, knock on wood. So it's going to be a big relief for me as a developer, and I think it's going to, at least my biggest goal for this release has been to think about other developers. To think about people who are WordPress developers, and I get these questions all the time. I'm a WordPress developer, I develop themes or plugins, but I'm afraid to do it for Buddypress because Buddypress is a mess in this way, or Buddypress is too much to learn in this way. And so as we've gone through this release cycle, my goal, my personal goal, has been to make it easier for those people to enter the fray and to get your feet wet with Buddypress. And I really hope that's going to happen. So that's that. Questions? Comments? You want to look at Buddypress? Why don't we look at it? So here's a live environment. Here's the new theme. The activity stream is one area where we did a lot of improvements. A lot of little things have been changed. For instance, we have added, it used to be that somebody could hijack the activity stream by posting lorem ipsum, 18 paragraphs of it. We added a pretty little, a nice little excerpt creator, which will give you a read more, and then it goes to fetch it, and then it brings the whole thing back. We regularized this so that if you bring up in a new window a forum topic with forum replies, a blog post with blog replies, and an activity stream with activity replies, that they are all formatted, have similar markup, and they have similar CSS. So you have a consistent experience throughout the different content points of the site. We have rewritten button styles so that buttons are consistent. We used to have 3 or 4 different kinds of buttons and you didn't know what to do. Now we have a BP button class that you can instantiate, or there's actually wrapper functions for it that you can BP add button or something like that. And you can quickly create buttons that do all sorts of pretty things. We have this pretty little comment nesting, blah, 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 blah. We regularized the appearance of avatars throughout. We used to have, I think we counted 5 different avatar sizes throughout, just in different kinds of content. We've narrowed that down to, I believe, 3. The 2 you see here, and then if I go to my page and I look at my main avatar, this one. We took the dang parentheses out of these things. Friends, parenthesis 5. Now for us in the room, we all speak English. This is probably fine, but this did not really translate well to other languages. You know, why were we spitting the actual letters out and not making them localizable? This is now a span, so it can be styled however you want to, or done away with if you'd like. So these are all sorts of tiny little things that have been fixed. BP default is a lot more usable as a result. This is what used to be hard-coded tabs. It used to be that if you wanted to change your navigation, you had to open up header.php and start erasing list items and then writing your own. This now has menu support. The WordPress menu system, where you can drag and drop and you can nest things, full support. You can build this right out of the box. It lists your pages by default, but all you got to do is go in there and create a new menu and plop it into the navigation area, and you're good to go, just like you are with the best WordPress themes. Let's see if there's anything off the top of my head that is. Sidebars. So instead of having one sidebar over here, we widgetize all of the surrounding space. I think we have 2 sidebars over here, a upper and a lower, and then we have 3 at the bottom, so you can put widgets all around, and you don't need to crack open your footer.php, hopefully, because you'll have widget space. What else? Any other problems that things people don't? Oh, this is pretty. We copied Twitter a little bit on this one. So when you click inside of this box, it opens up like that. Isn't that pretty? So yeah, we thought that was kind of nice. So lots of just tiny little changes that make this a theme John Jacoby, who's the lead developer for this project, I mean, the way that he put it is that this is actually now a theme that you might actually want to use on your site. Instead of putting it up and being embarrassed about it, this is a theme that you actually want to use. You build a child theme and you maybe change the header, you change a few things. But we also have header support, better than we used to. But this is a child theme that you would actually be happy to use. Let's look at the admin, because the admin has been changed a pretty fair amount as well. You can see up here that I'm using the admin bar. So some of these, this for instance is a regular WordPress menu. You'll recognize this from your own WordPress blogs. But this one is our notification bar. So the notification bar that you'll remember every time you get a new app mention on the site, or every time you get a new private message, a notification pops up, integrated right in there. Yeah. Here, these are the admin. Because I'm an admin on the site, I can delete this group. Or if I was looking at a member page, I'd be able to mark this member as a spammer, or I'd be able to delete the member. Let's go back and check out the dashboard. So here's another little thing, if you're a developer, that you'll appreciate, is that we're being more humble about our menu placement. So if you have added menus to WordPress before, you know that the WordPress, on purpose, they do this on purpose, that functions for this, like add options page and stuff like that, they don't take position arguments. They don't let you say, 1, I want to be number 1 on the list. They just put you at the end. They just load you in order. And that's because otherwise, what would people do? Everyone would say number 1, and so it'd be stupid. So what we did before is we actually like hacked into the menu global, and we started unsetting array items. And I mean, it was very rude. So we're being better citizens of the ecosystem, and we put ourselves at the bottom where we rightfully belong. We have made this. What I really like about our new admin pages is that they have a consistent navigation style in a way that WordPress does not. WordPress admin pages change if you go to different settings pages. Ours are all very similar. So here's the components page. It used to be radio buttons. We changed it to check marks. We have a pages tab here, and pages. This is where you do the page association. So for instance, I can, if I have more pages on here, I don't. But if I can create a new page, and I can call it something like sweet stuff. And let's say I want to make this a child of activity. Publish. So I'm just creating a new page. Then I'll head back over to the pages section. Then I'm going to reassociate this with sweet stuff and save. Now the effect that this has is that now my activity URL has changed, activity/sweet stuff. And all of my activity permalinks have also changed. So activity/sweet stuff, oh, now that redirects, so that was a bad example. But all of your permalinks just changed magically. So you used to have to do very fancy, very ugly tricks in order to make all of this work. Now it's very natural.
Hey, Boone?
Yeah.
Would you think about maybe allowing developers to put in short codes for like a short code activity as opposed to that way is great, but you know, maybe you'd be able to have a one page where you put one thing. You know.
It's coming. So that was the future stuff that I was talking about before. So in the next version, we're gonna have these sort of injection methods, a good kind of injection. You know, like basting your turkey, not like I forget it. It's been a long day. So I have a look here. Listen, I have a 7-week-old. And I was up all last night, so I have no jokes anymore. So I apologize for my terrible jokes. Sonia.
Yeah, quick question regarding the pages as well. So if I assign it to a page that I created, can I add some content to the actual page and then it's going to show up on top of that same activity?
No. We still use the template instead. We don't call it. Will if you add the content to your template. We don't add it by default just because we weren't really sure how to style it and we weren't really sure what that would look like. But if you create a child theme and then have members/index.php and you add the content to the top, then yes, it will show up. Yeah, that's something that you couldn't do before you had to hard code it.